In this video I'm making another aquascape with an arch as a focal point. I made a small one last year with dragonstone, but this time we're making something bigger with lava rocks. So I thought for this project I'm gonna need a lot of black lava rocks. So I bought not one, not two, but 3 of these black lava buckets. Found these online, they were quite cheap, so I thought why not just buy a few of them. I love using black lava rocks, very versatile, so it's always good to have some around. So I'll leave a link in the video description for the buckets. And got my liquid super glue as well. So let's just get to work. I don't really have a plan, I'm just going to start gluing some rocks together and hopefully we'll end up with something nice. Here we go, now you can kind of see what we're working with. So it's a good variety of sizes. It's quite a big one, bunch of smaller ones, so should be able to make something nice out of this. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We have a little arch, but this is just the beginning. I want to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. Also want to add some roots, but if you guys are thinking of doing something like this yourself, just make sure you do it in a well-ventilated area, especially with the glue and all the fumes that are coming off it. I have an open window as well. It's nice and windy outside, so I'm getting lots of fresh air in here. Okay guys, the arch is starting to take shape. I've also started adding some roots just to just add some detail, make it look a little bit more natural. The next step is to start covering up the white pieces of cotton pad, because of course that looks very unnatural. So I have some black sand from Rio. It's not black, it's Choco. So I want to put a little bit more glue on those cotton pads, sprinkle on some sand, and then we should kind of be able to cover it up. Okay guys, the arch is done. Feels quite solid. You can easily pick it up without fearing that it's gonna fall apart. So I want to put it in the tank, but before I can do that, I first want to add in the substrate. Okay, so we're gonna go for the usual dental plants substrate system. So first up we have the nutrient-rich base layer. This needs to be covered by something. So normally you would cover this with gravel or with sand, but I actually like to use it in combination with Aquasoil. Then on top of the base layer, I'm going to go with a few of these power caps. So these are just clear capsules filled with nutrients. I'm going to open them up and sprinkle them all over the base layer. You can leave them whole, you don't have to open them up. But I find that this way you kind of spread out the nutrients a little bit better, you know. Otherwise they're just concentrated in a few places. And then as the last step, we just cover everything with Aquasoil. So I'm using the Aquasoil from Dental Plants. Of course, because they are the channel sponsor. But I also really like this one because it's not crazy rich in nutrients like some other Aquasoils. So with this one, if you miss a few water changes, it's not really a big deal, you know. So now we have a nice little cushion for the arch to sit on. If I can get it in the tank, that'll be nice. Here we go. I'm thinking about the path right now because I want to have a little sand path in the center, and I want the path to either go to the right or to the left and kind of disappear in the background, you know. So we have to see if we're gonna bring the path this way or bring the path that way. Okay, I think I'm gonna have the sand path going that way, not sure yet. I first want to start adding in a few more rocks, because at the moment the arch looks very artificial, I guess. So by adding in some more rocks, maybe some more roots as well, we can just make the whole thing look more natural. Okay guys, it's now the next day and the hardscape is pretty much done. So I made a few changes yesterday. First of all, I was not really happy with how low the arch actually was. I wanted it to be a little bit closer to the water surface. So I raised the left side and put a big rock underneath it. So right now it sits a little bit higher and I think it looks much better. I also added in more soil in the background just to have more of a slope, just to help kind of create that sense of depth. I added in some more small details with the roots. And just a bunch more of these smaller lava rocks. And believe it or not, remember those 3 buckets of lava rocks that I had? There's just 1 rock left. So this rock over here is the only one that's left. I didn't use it, don't really have space for it. It's also not very pretty, it's kind of a weird texture, but yeah. all those 3 buckets were used. I did not expect that, but the hardscape pretty much done. I think it looks really good. And now we just have to plant it. I've ordered the plants, but it's going to take a few days for them to get here. So I was thinking, in the meantime, we can just continue setting up the rest of the equipment. We need to install a filter, we need to install the CO2. And I'm thinking to also fill up with water. And basically just do a really short, dark start. So fill up with water, get the cycle going. And then once the plants arrive, we can drain it completely. Kind of get rid of some of those excess nutrients released by the soil. And yeah, so let's start with the filter. So for this one, I actually have a brand new Oase Biomaster. It's a 600. So apparently they've upgraded the Biomasters and we now have the Biomaster Pro. And don't worry, the box got a little bit damaged during shipping, but according to the box, we have a 25% increase in flow rate. So that's interesting. It seems like they've also changed the spray bar that comes with all the accessories. I'm not going to use any of this. I just needed to open a box to get these things for the in and outflow attachment. And now the little rubber feet that go underneath the filter just to help with vibrations. I think in terms of filter media, it's pretty much the same. But I think there was a change in the pre-filter. Let's have a look at that. If you open this up, if you remove those sponges, there's like a little tube here. And this tube is different than it was before. So now it has more holes. So I guess that helps with increasing the output, you know. Okay, filter is inside the cabinet. I've also just installed a glassware, the lily pipes, but not really liking how that looks. I think the lily pipes are just a bit too big for this tank, you know. So I need to find a different solution for that, but I'll do that later. Also attach the tubing, and I'm now using more and more this gray flexible tubing, which just works really well. Really goes nicely around the corners, and yeah. So I'll leave some links in the video description as to where I bought that tubing. Next up, we need to install the CO2 inline diffuser. So here we have an inline CO2 diffuser, and this one goes on the return from the filter. So basically somewhere here, I'm gonna have to make a cut, place the diffuser in there, and then we're all good. Okay, we have the filter, we have the inline CO2 diffuser. So the last thing we need is a CO2 bottle and regulator. You might have noticed this behemoth on the right side. I recently got a brand new regulator from CO2 Art, and this one is now feeding all 4 tanks on the shelf. But as you can see, we have 5 bubble counters, so there is space for one more. So the plan is to move this entire bottle and regulator inside the cabinet and then just have tubing going to the shelf. Just look a little bit cleaner, you know. Okay, fast forward. I think it's been 5 days since filling up the tank with water. It's looking good. The water did go a little bit cloudy after 2 or 3 days, but it's all cleared up now. I've also added some floating plants. I had a tissue culture pot of Salvinia left over, so I thought I might as well just add them in here and save them. And we also have actually one Amano shrimp in here. I came into the studio a few days ago and he was just kind of casually walking over the floor, so I quickly threw him in this tank. So plants have arrived, so we can now finish the layout. So I'm going to drain the water again, remove the floating plants, remove the Amano shrimp, and then we can start planting. Okay, I think I have all the plants that I need for this project. Just to give you guys an idea what I have in mind for this one. For the arch, I got some really nice flame moss. I never really used flame moss. I'm going to use that together with Hemianthus scuba. So this is normally a carpeting plant. We can also use it on hardscape and let it just droop down. Looks pretty cool. Then of course underneath the arch is very shaded, so I have a variety of small crypts. So we have the Parva, we have the Hobbit, and the Crypt Legroy. We have a lot more plants, but I'll show you every single one of them as they're going into the tank. Okay, got everything nicely prepared. I do think that I've ordered a lot of green plants and I'm missing some color, but we can just start with this, see how it develops, and I can always take some colorful trimmings from my other tanks. And the first plant going in is the Liliopsis brasiliensis. Haven't used this one in a while, but it's a really nice and easy carpeting plant. Also doesn't require a lot of trimming, so that's also nice. Now whenever I'm using Liliopsis as a carpeting plant, I always like to mix in some Marcellea. I just love how natural it looks when you have a straight leaf and a round leaf just mixed in together. Okay, so that's the first part of the foreground done with the Liliopsis and the Marcellea. Now to continue the sides, it would have been nice to have a red plant just behind there, which I don't have at the moment, and I'm not really sure what to use. So I think I'm going to leave that spot empty for now and just continue, and we'll fill that spot up later. So then just a little bit further up the hill, I'm planting a crypt. And this is the very basic and very common Crypt Venetian green. I'm going to do the same on this side. Then all the way in the corner, behind the crypt, I'm going to plant a little bit of pearlweed. Again, same thing on this side as well. Next to the pearlweed, we finally have some color with a Rotala Atra. The stems of this Atra were really long, so I've actually just trimmed them in half. Then next to the Atra, I'm planting some really small stem plant. This is the Myrifilum Guyana. So now we have both sides of the arch pretty much planted, apart from those empty spots over there. Now I want to move on to the arch and start covering that up with plants. So I'm going to start with some Anubias. This is the Anubias Mini Kirin. So of course perfect for these shaded areas. Also no need to use glue because we have enough gaps and crevices. Now for the Hemianthus scuba, I might have to use a little bit of super glue. We can also try to wedge it in between the roots and the lava rocks. So that is 2 pots of the Hemianthus scuba used on the arch. Doesn't really look like much, but it grows quite fast, so it should cover up in no time. And next up I'm going to mix in some moss. Yeah, so I never really use flame moss. Yeah, I think it could look pretty cool, because it grows upright if we just keep it short by trimming it. Okay, last plant going on the arch. I have a little bit of Hydrocotyl tripartita mini. So the only thing left to do now is to plant underneath the arch. For that I first want to add in the sand. And I'm going to go with the classic ADA La Plata sand. Always looks good. Okay, sand is in, and then hopefully if I spray it a little bit, the sand is going to like settle in all the small gaps. So now we can add in the final plants. This is a bunch of small crypts. Some beautiful crypt Parva. And this really nice tiny crypt Hobbit. And lastly, all the way in the back, I'm also going to plant some dwarf hairgrass. Guys, I think I found a perfect plant for those 2 empty spots on the sides. In my red touch style, I had some Hygrophila araguaia, so I've just taken a few trimmings from there. I'm going to plant them on those sides, and then we're completely done. We can fill the tank back up and yeah, see how it's going to grow in. Here we are guys, 44 days later. This layout turned out way better than I expected. Overall this tank developed well without too many issues, but I do have to say that during the first few weeks I struggled to get some good growth out of the plants. I think the reason for that was the light, because the arch sits pretty much in the center of the tank and need more light in the front and in the back. So a single light in the center is obviously not ideal. So a few weeks ago I swapped out the Twinstar S3 for 2 AI freshwater blades, and since then the plants have grown a lot better. In terms of inhabitants, I've added Ember Tetras, Ruby Tetras and Threadfin Rainbows. And for the cleanup crew, we have Otocinclus, Amano Shrimp and White Neocaridina Shrimp. As with most of my tanks, the light is on from 1 PM until 9 PM and the CO2 is on from 11 AM until 8 PM. On the weekend I do my maintenance and this tank gets a 25% water change. In terms of fertilizer, I dose mostly APT1, but if I feel like the plant needs some more nitrate and phosphate, I'll add some APT3 as well. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this layout, and as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.